Let's talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007. Is it awesome or awful? We're about to find out. Alright, today we're going to be talking about Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007, the horror remake slash reboot slasher movie stars Scout Taylor-Compton, Malcolm McDowell, Tyler Mane, Brad Dourif, and Danielle Harris. So obviously this is Rob Zombie's reimagining of the John Carpenter classic. This film definitely divides people, which is why we are doing it in an awesome or awful segment. This is the perfect kind of movie. There's some people that will actually say this movie's better than Carpenter's original, and then there's some people that think it's just a piece of trash and it bastardized the original. So let's see where we end up on that. Before we get into it, definitely want you to start smashing that like button for me. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that bell to set up notifications just so you know when the next video drops. As always, leave a comment. Always want to hear from you guys. Definitely want to hear what you have to say on Rob Zombie's version of Halloween. Alright, so the way these awesome or awful videos work is I'll list out the awesome elements of the movie. I'll list out the awful elements of the movie. And then at the end of the day, you have a clear-cut winner. Right? When we come down to a verdict, is this movie awesome or awful? It's a very black and white way to look at it, but I have a lot of fun with it, so hopefully you do as well. Alright, so the awesome segments. Without a shadow of a doubt, Rob Zombie always has a great soundtrack in his movies. I mean, come on. Opening the movie with God of Thunder. How awesome is that? Another awesome element is Rob Zombie's trademark of how trashy the characters are. Sure, he overdoes it at times with the bad dialogue and the amount of curses and how unrealistic people act. But this kind of felt right for this movie. I will definitely say when you look at Halloween 2 or H2 in 2009, completely different movie. There's a lot of things I like about the movie, and there's a lot of things I dislike about the movie. I used to love H2. I've kind of come down a little bit on that one. Way too many curses, and the dialogue is just... I don't exactly have like prude ears or anything, but it was weird. It was just a little too uncomfortable at times. So... Again, we're talking about Halloween 2007, so I won't go too far down that other path. Another awesome element, Tyler Mane is huge. I mean, when you're talking about, a terrifying Michael Myers, when somebody's huge like that and they're much bigger than everybody else, it just makes people all the more scary. Another awesome element. I guess this one's awesome and maybe a little awful at the same time. There's a lot of backstory. I think that's where people get a little divided on this movie. There's a couple things. How they portray Loomis, I guess, and spending so much time on the backstory. I ate it up for this one. I thought it was pretty good. I definitely like the mysteriousness of not having a backstory. But I'm one of those guys that geeks out over like superhero origin stories and all too. And this is the same kind of thing, right? This is the origin of Michael Myers. It felt a little weird, I guess, sometimes to see him talking and all, but it ended up being pretty cool. Another awesome element, and one of my favorite scenes in a movie is, I can't even begin to describe how evil little Mikey is with that giant mask. The entire scene where he's rubbing his sister's leg before stabbing her, it's all so evil. Then it just becomes a bloody mess. Then the mask comes off and he kisses his brother. Just like, holy crap, that whole scene was just awesome. Another awesome element. I love how Michael becomes a completely different person when he puts the mask on. He kind of seems, I wouldn't say chill, but he definitely seems a little less psychotic when he doesn't have the mask, and the mask is just that trigger. Alright, another awesome element, another Rob Zombie staple, the cast. He has Danielle Harris, Brad Dourif, Danny Trejo, Ken Faree, Dee Wallace, Udo Kier, Bill Moseley, Sid Haig. that's not even mentioning Scout Taylor-Compton and Malcolm McDowell, right? Just a great cast. It's great to see, especially people like Ken Faree, from Dawn of the Dead, and you don't typically see him in a ton of other movies. And then he comes up here. Obviously, Brad Dourif, everybody knows him as the voice of Chucky. So, it's great seeing these guys. And, of course, Bill Moseley and Sid Haig kind of just follow Zombie pretty much everywhere. It was actually weird not to see them in H2. All right, another awesome element. I understand that Michael Myers is pure evil in the original Halloween, but this version of Michael is pure evil and just frightening. Again, back to the size, but also just the way he kills people. He's just vicious, right? And I would say the original Halloween, which, by the way, I'll just get it out there. I love the original Halloween. Still one of my favorite movies, and to me it's a better movie than this one by far. But it was more suspenseful and mysterious. And this one is he's brutal. All right, another awesome element. What happens with Michael and his relationship with Danny Trejo is awesome and truly adds to the film. I think that scene when Michael finally gets out is something that's needed to just show how evil Mike is, right? And nobody, even Danny Trejo, felt like he had a relationship with Michael, and he felt like they were on the same page, and it's just Michael spoiler alert, Michael just took him out, right? And I think it just needed to add to just how vicious he was. All right, that's all I have for the awesome elements. Let's start talking about the awful. I guess I said this one in the awesome or maybe a little awful. Perhaps too much of a backstory. Again, kind of cool that you don't know why in the original Halloween, you don't know why Michael's chasing Laurie Strode. Remember, if you think back to the original Halloween series, the idea of Michael being Jamie's sister that was never brought up until Halloween 2. Now, in this reboot, they have it where they're siblings. So it's a little divergent from the original Halloween, but it's maybe a little too much going on in the backstory. Like I said, I kind of ate up those scenes and I really enjoyed it. Maybe a little over the top though. All right. Another awful element. This one is nowhere near as bad as it is in H2. But as much as I love Malcolm McDowell, Loomis's character, as it was written, does not feel right. Again, it's not horrible in this movie. It's just a little unnerving. Now, when you get to H2, forget it. I mean, just what they did with Loomis's character and just treats everybody like crap. And he's sitting there, trying to pick up girls at the Myers house. That's kind of weird. I'll admit that I think I see Loomis's character more likely to try to profit off of the situation more so than just devote his life to seeking out the evil that is Michael Myers and all that. And the guy needs to make a living as well, right? So I could see where that comes from. Again, not that bad in Halloween 2007, but 2009, they just basically make Loomis just a complete prick. All right, awful. Film's a little longer than it needs to be. The opening is awesome. The middle's okay. The ending is great. It's missing the intense ending that the original had. I think there's things that could have been cut out of the middle to still get the story across and to, not have it seem like it's dragging on so much. And that is it that I have for awful elements. So if you haven't figured it out by now, the verdict is that Halloween 2007 from Rob Zombie is awesome. I don't know what to say about what people think about the film. It is awesome. Not a big a fan of H2. I felt that was forced. That's for another video, though. Again, this does not mean that Rob Zombie's reboot is nearly as good as Carpenter's. I will say when this first came out, I was kind of talking about which one I liked more, comparing the original and this one, which people will think I'm nuts for. As time went on, the original Carpenter version is timeless. And the zombie version is not something that I will rewatch like every year, like I would the original Halloween. Simply because it's a little longer than it needs to be. You know, I think I think once you see the backstory, you're okay with it. You know, it's not something you want to rewatch over and over and over again. The original Halloween, I still can. You know, still will watch it at least once a year. I mean, every movie in the Halloween franchise, maybe not as much with like Halloween 3, even like Resurrection, I may watch every year. And I am not a fan of Resurrection. But anyway, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think. What's your verdict on Halloween 2007? Is this zombie reboot, is it awesome or awful? Definitely want to know. So again, make sure you smash that like button for me. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're still listening now, how come you're not subscribed? Come on. All right. So until the next episode, just keep it horror.